Okay, so this episode is all about mind, body, and soul, our health journey, and how health is actually a transformational journey. I am utterly thrilled. I had the privilege of having an advanced copy of the book Radical Health Makeovers by Mary Beauchamp, and I assure you, you will be just, there's so much wisdom, nuggets, and yet it's a full approach to the body, mind, and soul. Mary, welcome to the show. I am so thrilled you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This is so excellent to be here with you. So thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Again, so that I got to have the privilege of I always love the confidential copies, by the way. It just makes you feel really special. So the book, I have not seen and read the three pieces, the body, mind, and soul, and actually that it's actually a transformational journey to heal, to move past of our emotions that will then in turn actually impact the health and where we get to move forward with that. So tell us why you wrote the book and radical healthcare. Just lean in for us.
Okay, thank you for that great introduction. Well, I've just been in the field of the medical field for over 25 years, and I've just noticed that there's a lot of things that aren't being seen and aren't being addressed and aren't being looked at and aren't being considered in this whole process of making a health transformation. And so I just really wanted to write a book that addressed the major blockage to overcoming our health challenges, really, which begins with our mental programming and our unconscious belief system, and how we can really reprogram that and rewire that so that we have an edge and we have a way in to really making major strides in changing our physiology and our health.
That's obvious, but it's brilliant. It's just brilliant that's where you get to start. And even so, you get into the book. Well, tell the audience of where the book gets to bring you, and then we'll get in the specifics of the three sections.
Okay, so there's really only four chapters. It's pretty short, I thought. I had 5 times more than that when I started, but I cut a lot of it out. So we're left with kind of the bones, like the real meat of it. And so it starts with the mind, right? So really how to see how we got where we are. How did we get sick? How did our human population as a whole, how did our health start to decline and what caused that? And really the history of where we've come in the last 100 years and how this all came to be. And if we look from a bird's eye view of the bigger picture, what we'll see is that all of what we know to be true, or we believe to be true about health and nutrition, came from a place that was from the top down, that was not necessarily having our best interest in mind, right? So this agenda of big pharma and the media and the government and the guidelines and the medical industry is all sort of being filtered down through this lens of profit, right? So if the profit motive the profit motive is to keep people sick, essentially. And that's how everybody makes money, right? So if we start to look at things through that lens, we can see how most doctors and medical professionals got the download of what we're supposed to be doing as humans, and how that differentiates from the evolution, the anthropology, and the science. So I just really wanted to give people that background so that they can see, oh, wow, I thought that this, and this is what I was supposed to be doing. And where did those beliefs come from? Like really just starting to check in and question and ask yourself, where did this belief that I have about eating this thing come from? And if it came from the top down, from the food pyramid, from the media, from the, wherever you're getting that information, it's likely that it is completely skewed so that we will actually stay sick. So I wanted to give people that foundation so that they would understand that there is something that they can do about it, right? So that's where the empowerment piece comes in, is that we have this information, we have these false beliefs, and now what do we do? And so I really want to put the reins in your hands to be able to take control of your own health. And that starts with really reprogramming our thinking, our feeling, and our eating, so it's threefold. We can't just jump in and necessarily go along with something that I'm going to say, because what do I know? It's different from what everyone else is saying, but yet there's enough people and there's enough momentum and there's enough of this welling up under the surface of what, appears to be the true reality of our state of affairs. There's something else going on underneath the veil. And that's really what I wanted to lift and have people start to see this for themselves, and really doing the work, that the self-inquiry that will allow them to use their body as their guide, as their guidance system, as they navigate through the murky waters of what information is available out there. So,
well, let's start with you as the expert. What credentials do you have? What is your background?
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm a registered nurse, and I'm a certified GAPS practitioner. GAP stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And I'm also a ketogenic diet specialist and coach. And really, my specialty is therapeutic nutritional protocols, and particularly using the ketogenic diet as one way of very quickly reversing a lot of chronic illness.
So what you're saying is that RN coming from that, but you've stepped in and you've practiced what you've preached and what's in the book.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I noticed a long time ago that I was really interested in nutrition. I grew up on a farm. I grew up with horses, and I noticed, and it was obvious that horses had a very specific way of eating. And if they ate something out of what, the norm, they would get sick, they would get colic, they could die. Right. So it was really important as a horse breeder and somebody who's in that world to really be very mindful of what the horses were eating. And also breeding horses, I learned at a very young age that the pregnant horses eat a lot differently than the horses out in the pasture, the geldings and the regular mares. So the pregnant mamas, they had special diets. And so I knew that nutrition mattered at a very young age. And so I was always interested in nutrition and health. And when I went to nursing school back in 1993, I realized really quickly that doctors didn't know anything about nutrition. And I, in fact, probably knew more from my veterinarian growing up on a farm than the doctors I was working with in the clinic and the clinical rotations in the hospital. So I got really disenchanted with what I thought I was going to be doing when I went into the field of nursing. And I just realized that if doctors knew what I knew about nutrition, clearly they don't, or they wouldn't be serving this food in the hospitals. And that just stuck with me. And I thought, everything I'm doing is worthless if we don't address this root issue of why would we be feeding people in the hospitals when they're sick the very foods that made them sick. And it just didn't compute with me. So I vowed to myself when I was in nursing school that I would never work in a hospital because I could not support that approach. And luckily I never did. So when I graduated from high school or from college, I went directly to work with a doctor named Dr. Stephen Finney. And he was a professor of nutrition at the University of UC Davis. And I worked in his clinic with several other research doctors. And it was a research clinic where we studied metabolic health. And we worked with obese patients who had heart disease and diabetes and all sorts of other issues, but mainly obesity and diabetes. So we were reversing these things as 20 years ago. And then it just stuck with me. And I always saw how my kids we didn't really have, lots of processed food in my house and stuff like that when my kids were growing up. I have 4 kids, 2 grandkids. And so I started noticing patterns, like when my kids are home, they're well, but then when they go to their grandparents' house and they come back, they get sick, like every time. Like, what is going on with that?
Grandma.
Yeah. So I started really diving in and I was like, okay, well, I know that this low carb thing works for obese people with diabetes and heart disease. what is sugar having to do with the immune system? That's what really piqued my interest, was because they would always come home sick from their grandparents. And I know that they ate a lot of junk food over there, ice cream and box cereals and cookies and you name it. I mean, they had a lot of junk.
Processed food.
Yeah. And so I really dove into the metabolics behind the immune function and how diet affects that. And that's really what kept me in the world of the ketogenic diet through nutritional therapeutic ketosis, essentially. And, you know, this diet's been around for 100 years. It was used, probably one of the first studies done was on seizure patients. So this is not a new idea. It's just that it's not, the information about this is not readily available. But I started following all these doctors and really learning more about the metabolic effects that we can create on our, and to have an impact on our immune system. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm really very interested in the immune system. And so that's where my passion comes from. So,
well, our gut, isn't that our second brain?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the gut is really the epicenter of inflammation, you could say. And, you know, Hippocrates talked about this 2,400 years ago. So like I said, it's not a new concept. Like, doctors know this and they have been trying to teach it and put it out there. But because of the top-down approach and because of the media and the ownership and the profit motives that we're dealing with, we're never going to hear this. So the doctors that I follow have all written books about this because they can't share the information in any other way. It'll just, you know, doctors lose their licenses and they get banned from social media and, you know, all the things. And even I've been banned from social media. So
that means you're doing something right.
Exactly. When the truth starts coming in, that goes against the mainstream narrative, it's not well accepted. Right. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. It's really just a continuation of letting this information percolate up because it's well documented in the scientific literature. It's well documented in our evolutionary history. If we look at anthropology, how our gut was designed, and we're just over the last 100 years have been really highly brainwashed to believe that we all need to be eating more plants, more plant material, more of the carbohydrates, right? The breads, the cereals, the grains, all those things that are at the bottom of that food pyramid. You know, you need to be eating mostly breads and cereals and grains and plants, are destroying our gut. It's destroying our metabolism and it's destroying our health. So
I want to go into that. I'm going to get this right here because this was a fact that I even blew my mind. So that even the correlation from Dr. Otto Heinrich Warburg, right? The correlation between sugar and cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then that healthy cells thrive from oxygen. And yet cancer cells, this blew my mind. They thrive from sugar.
Right. Yeah. They do.
It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've known this for over 100 years. Dr. Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize in medicine for discovering that cancer cells metabolize differently than normal cells, and they require many, many, many times more glucose than a healthy cell. So when he realized that the fermentation of sugars was what caused cancer cells to grow and multiply, he was a genius, you know, to figure that out. And all the while, his brilliant discovery has been brushed under the rug, and we have been chasing after these genetic, you know, origins of cancer, and it's just simply never ever going to result in a cure because it's like looking for this. It's like looking for, you know, what caused the car accident by looking under the hood of the car that got run into. You know, it's just, you're not going to find what you're looking for if you're looking in the wrong place. But that's what we fund. And that's where the money gets poured into, billions of dollars gets poured into cancer research that's simply looking to validate that we need more pharmaceuticals essentially to treat cancer. So the good news is that with the sort of combination of using, traditional medications, and this dietary approach can be very profound when it comes to remission and reversing cancer and actually treating it. So not that there's no place for modern medicine. I mean, there has been strides made. I'm not saying it's all, smoke and mirrors, but we need to really look at the pieces that are working and the pieces that aren't, and how can we enhance those pieces to really bring our own energy and our own empowerment to take control of our own health when we're in a situation where we're in a health crisis, or we've just been diagnosed with cancer or something that's very scary. What can we do in that case where we're overwhelmed, we're stressed out, we're anxious, we're very scared? What do you do when you're so terrified that you've just had a diagnosis that's, scary? And what do you do at that point? And like from the ground up. And so that's really what I wanted to bring forth in my book to people, that they can gain some ground and get grounded, tune in, listen to their body, and they can learn how to use that as a resource to really help them navigate through any kind of health crisis.
I want to stand there because your book is different. And right, all that we're talking about, it's in there, right? And the application for it, and the science, and what that looks like, and the diet, and changing from that. But what's remarkable and just very, very, very forward, very transformational, is that the whole first third of your book talks about mindset, talks about how our emotions and our reactions to things, and within that, resetting the mind before we even begin about the health of the gut and the body and the thing. Profound. Lean into that, because your book is that much more amazing than anything I've read in this. So let's go into what that means: changing the mindset, changing our habits, changing our feelings, our stories. These are all transformational words, but you apply it to health. It's brilliant.
Thank you. Oh gosh, I love hearing that. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I just noticed for me that there was a disconnect between what I was telling people and their actual ability to turn that into an action. And so I became very fascinated with what was going on. And I realized that we have to start with reprogramming our mind, because if we do not believe what we're doing is for our good and benefit and for our own health and well-being, we cannot affect any change in our health. So I really got very interested in why some people just can't move forward and they can't make the changes, and they're stuck in their life in many different areas. I mean, the health is just a manifestation of our thinking and our beliefs and our actions, right? So if we can dive into why did I get sick in the first place? How did I get here? Then we can start to unwind that and rewrite that script, because we can actually essentially create a new belief system. So we can overwrite our old program, our subconscious programming around all of what we've been taught as young children, and in the media, and from our doctors, and from our grandparents, and all the things that gave us the wrong information, essentially. And how do we differentiate what is real and what is not? And how do we come to grips with that in a way that our body can resonate with it as a truth, so that we can heal ourselves? Because if this is sort of where the placebo effect comes from. I
have that in my notes. So if you're, let's talk about the 30 to 40% talk about the placebo effect.
Yeah. So the placebo effect is a very real phenomenon that occurs in medicine, and anybody who puts out a new drug has to do a double-blind placebo test. Lots of them. So what happens when people take the placebo is that their mind is, we can heal our body just with our mind. And that's sort of what the placebo effect is. And if we believe that something's going to heal us. It will heal us, right? So they started noticing that the people that took the pill and the people who thought they took the pill had the same results. And so the results, strangely enough, ironically enough, are as good as the people that took the pill. So the people that healed themselves from thinking they took the pill and the people that healed from the pill, they were the same amount of people in each group. So how could that be possible? Right. And so what this does is it just proves that we can heal our body with our mind. And until we get our mind and our heart and our soul in one straight aligned vortex of energy, we're losing energy all over the place, and we're not focused it's not being able to focus on what we really need when we're in a health crisis, which is to focus that in and start to use that as to our benefit, as leverage to actually start to heal our body on a physiological level. So
that is absolutely one of the things that makes your book brilliant and such a paradigm shift. So, okay, so I also want, because there's so much here, but yet you use the word empowerment. And the word empowerment is that the book is really, and it has a journal, right? It is something that's implementable, right?
yeah.
That it's taking people forward, not just giving them information. So lean into how and who this book is for, and even the style that you wrote it in the journal. It's just, I love the book. It's just so valuable.
Thank you. So yeah, the book is written for my patients, my clients who come to me and they say, I've tried everything. I've done it all. I've run into an obstacle here and a brick wall there. And my doctor says, there's nothing more they can do. Or, they're not finding the answers that they need in the traditional model of care in the medical reality. So those are usually the people that then say, okay, well, if my doctor can't help me, I better start looking for ways that I can do something different. And that's usually when people find me, that have tried everything, and it's for the people that really believe that they're a victim of their disease, or that they're beholden to their diagnosis, and that is part of who they are and what their life is going to look like. Right. So it's for the person who really wants to explore outside of the medical paradigm ways in which they can actually take control of their own health. And it's something that's not going to be talked about in their doctor's office, because doctors don't know. And this is not maybe they don't know, maybe they do know and they just can't talk about it. Could be either. But essentially all chronic disease is rooted in metabolic dysfunction, you could say. So what I have been doing for the last 25 years is really helping people to repair their metabolism, essentially. And so what that looks like is their hormones are all connected, their diet, their gut, everything is connected. And once you start realizing that the systems that we believed are separated, we have the psychiatrist and we have the cardiologist and we have the gynecologist, but this whole body doesn't work like that. This whole body is one energetic being. And if we don't stop looking at it like it's pieces and parts, we're never going to see the whole picture, and that we need to integrate all of these things. Our psyche, our physiology, our mind, our body, our spirit, all has to be integrated into this, into alignment, really, to have the most profound effect. And so my book is really for people that are looking for answers that they're not finding, and they want to do something themselves, because your doctor can't do this for you. We think our doctor heals us, but really doctors give us something to help our body heal itself. And what I want to do with this book is give people something that can help them learn how to have the tools so that they can have the tools that their body needs to heal itself. Right.
Again, the mind, body, soul connective, that the oneness of that, and then the diagnosis, but you're teaching, you're bringing forward, you're bringing them along their health journey to heal.
Yeah.
And I really want to emphasize that. And yet it's well written. It's really, there's just so much there, but it's meant to bring people forward, not to just sit on a shelf. Again, so why the companion journal? That leans into that more.
Well, I wanted people to have a tool. Like, I want people to have the tools they need, right? And if you follow along in the book and you get to the end and you're ready to move forward, what you want to do is take those tools and put them into practice. And that's really what the journal is all about. It's like, let's take some action. Let's be accountable for ourselves. Let's step up our level of responsibility so that we are empowered by the actions that we take. And we are the only ones that can change our health, right? So I want people to know that to take responsibility for your health is a huge leap of faith. But you're either going to put your faith in a system that's broken, or you can put your faith in yourself and the resources that you can accumulate outside of that. So you have more tools, right? So you have your doctor if you need this, but you also have this other part over here, which is the self-healing piece that you always have access to for the rest of your life. Once you learn how to work with these tools, you can maintain your metabolic health for the rest of your life. And that is what we don't know and what we don't teach in colleges and medical school and nursing school, is that it's all the same root cause. All the things that we think are like all these diseases, Alzheimer's and diabetes and obesity and heart disease and high blood pressure, they're all the same. They all have the same root cause, which is metabolic dysfunction. Okay. And we've seen this, in the last 2 years, pretty intensely around the pandemic. People with the worst outcomes, people with the most comorbidities, they are all rooted in metabolic dysfunction. So I just wanted to hit right to the core of how we can all take ourselves on and we can shift that. We have the power to change our thinking, to change what we put in our mouth, and to really, that starts with changing our belief system, because we've all been brainwashed and we just don't, it's a barrier that we have to break through before we can say, okay, I'm ready now to take these action steps. But a lot of people just kind of sit on the sideline and they're not capable of taking that action because they're too caught up in their old belief system. So I really wanted to give people a roadmap for unwinding that and rewiring their beliefs and their brain chemistry, essentially.
And I'm glad you used that word, because that's exactly what it is. It is something that it is roadmap. It gives you guidance, and that place of being able to move people forward in their health and where they see themselves in the book in a holistic approach is truly what makes this book amazing. Okay, so Mary, right? So what's next? How can people find you? What does it look like to work with you?
Yeah. So you can find me at marybeauchamp.com. That's where you can actually click on the link there and you can get on my email list, because I will send you an email the moment that my book is available for download, Radical Health Makeover, The Science and Spirituality of Self-Healing. It's going to be available on Amazon May 11th. So I will, if you get on my email list, I will send you a link on May 11th in the morning. So you can click on that link. It'll take you right over to buy the book. And it'll be there for just $1.99 for 24 hours only. So if you want to get on that my book list to find out when my book's ready to download, you can go to marybeauchamp.com. But if you want to find out more just about my general health, teachings and also coaching and things like that, you can go to ketogenicdietcoach.com. And that's all my other stuff, but you'll also be able to register to get on my book list there as well. So you can find me both places, ketogenicdietcoach.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Mary Beauchamp RN. You can find me there. There's lots of free information there as well. And also I have a podcast. So you can find all that at ketogenicdietcoach.com.
Okay, we will have all the links. And I didn't realize that the book is not released. So I am thrilled that we get to be a part of this. We will make sure that as this airs, it align with the release and really push it out. And so people get to have this in their hand to move forward, to be healthy, to be mind, body, soul connected, and truly be able to be empowered.
Mm-hmm. You can take control of your own health. That's the thing. We've been trained to think that somebody in the white coat with the stethoscope around their neck is going to do this for us, but it's not happening. If you look around, 80% of the people are metabolically challenged, and it has never been a better time on the planet in our history than right now to get control of your metabolic health, so that your immune system is strong and you're more resilient and more resistant. And this is the time to do it. And there is no time to waste, because we are at this point in our history where we have a lot of potential for health issues, right? We have a pandemic, we have a virus, we have, all sorts of chronic illnesses that we are inundated with. And it's up to us. Like, nobody's going to do this for us. We have to get these tools and we have to start doing the work. And you can do it. You can take control of your health, and you can turn your health around if it's not too far gone, And so that's really what I want to leave people with. It's just that you can do this, and nobody else can. So I encourage you to just lean in and take action, because I know that it's possible to really make a big difference in your health. So thank you.
Okay, Mary Beauchamp. It is, again, Radical Health Makeover, the Science and Spirituality of Self-Healing. Get the book. It's meant to be on that shelf, and also to take the journal and start implementing. All right, everyone. Thank you. And it's great having you. So thanks again, Mary.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Adios.